Well, hello world again. So I hope you have enjoyed yesterday. Today we have prepared loads more interesting panels, very interesting discussions with really rather knowledgeable and experienced people. So hopefully you also get to learn a lot as well as being entertained, hopefully. Hopefully today is also a day of really interesting and fruitful one-on-one meetings. But without further ado, I would like to take you straight into our first session of today. It's a Q&A session with Rozalia Urbanek, who's the investment director for PFR, and she will be talking to Mike Chaffee, the vice president of Wolf Summit, and they will be talking about the startups. So please make sure that you tune in to the Q&A pretty much straight from the very beginning.
Hi guys, my name is Rozalia Urbanek and I work as an investment director for PFR Ventures. PFR Ventures is the largest fund of funds in Central Eastern Europe, investing in venture capital funds. So I would like to start with a short presentation discussing with you the key highlights of the VC market in Poland for 2019. Hopefully you can see the screen. So, and you can see that in 2019 we had 269 transactions executed at the Polish market, which were done by 85 VC funds. Total capital in this transaction was 294 million euro. And you can see that this is a huge increase from the year of 2018, because in terms of value, it is 8 times higher. I think it will be even more visible on my next slide. So here you can see the VC round starting from 2010 to 2019, and you can see that the year of 2019 was really extraordinary. Of course, we had here even deducting this 80 million euro, we had a transaction value over 200 million euro. And where all of this is coming from. So I will show you the capital sources, and as you can see, this is coming mostly by over half of it by international private capital. Then 20% is coming from Polish private capital, and nearly 30% is coming from institutional programs run by PFR Ventures, so the institution which I represent, and Bridge Alpha program. In terms of number of transactions, the distribution is much different, because you can see that most of the deals were done with the impact of PFR Ventures and Bridge Alpha. This is over 75%. So over 220 deals were with engagement of these two institutions, and this is because both of these institutions are engaged in programs invested in VC funds, which have the aim to invest in pre-seed and seed stage. And pre-seed and seed stage is characterized by a large number of transactions with low investment ticket. The average investment ticket in pre-seed and seed stage is from 0.5 million zloty to, I would say, maximum 2 million Polish zloty. But which is the thing I want to share here with you is regarding capital from PFR Ventures and from Bridge Alpha stays in place. You do not need to be afraid that this part of capital will disappear in the market. I would like to make you sure that this capital will be available for you. What is optimistic for the market itself is that we observe that companies in Poland are able to raise bigger rounds, bigger tickets. In 2019, we had the Planner, Brainly, Booksy, which were able to raise more than 20 million euro in a single transaction. So we see that Polish VC market is getting more mature. Both startups are getting more mature, but also investors are starting to acknowledge the potential of the market by investing large tickets. And the last I would like to say is that this trend has been already confirmed by the first quarter of 2020. I want to share with you that in 2020, in the 3 months of it, we had already few transactions with ticket exceeding 20 million euro per single company. So the great example of it is Codility, but also No Magic or Authentic were able to raise huge ticket from their investors. Now I'm able to answer your questions. So if you have any, please just write them in the session chat.
Great. So I'll help the audience now just by kicking off with a couple of questions for you, Rozalia. It was great to hear that the funds that have already been allocated as part of the PFR program and Bridge Alpha won't be affected by the COVID-19 crisis. Can you tell the audience, I'm sure it's on most people's lips, if there's any other measures that PFR Ventures are planning in the short term to assist the ecosystem?
Yes, so as I said, the good news is that our funds stay in place. So because they were created, like I would say 1 year ago, they invested not more than on average 10% of their investment ticket, which means that still 90% of their investment budget stays in place. This is analyzing the market. We are in discussions with our VC funds. We are observing what other international markets are doing to support both VC ecosystem and startup ecosystem. They are in slightly different situation because, as I said, Polish VC market is quite young, and VC funds have a lot of dry powder to spend. This is not such a case in international markets. So we are analyzing all of it. So we are analyzing all of these trends. We will see how many of the transactions are being completed by our VC funds. So we know that there are some in their pipeline and they are working to close the deals.
Okay, thanks for that. And if anybody from the audience has a question, it would be great if you could just type it into the chat column on the right. So, okay, I have another question. When it comes to your general partners in your co-investment funds, you know, if I was in the position of a founder of a startup, what steps do you take to ensure the quality and proven, you know, track record from the partners that you engage with?
Okay, sure. So firstly, this is an obligation of the general partner. Firstly, each time GP is obliged to verify co-investors, both from legal perspective, so whether they are able to really commit the capital which they promised to startups. Then secondly, they need to verify their reputation and whether engaging with a certain partner will not impose any risk on startup development. And thirdly, they should choose startups not having in mind only financial investors, but also having in mind smart money coming from these investors. So usually co-investors shall have some kind of a value added for startups, which is not only capital, but it can be networking, it can be experience in a certain industry. So as I said, firstly, this is obligation of a general partner, but we as PFR Ventures, at each time, we accept co-investors in the round in which our co-investment funds enter the investment into the company. So we verify their due diligence process, and we conduct our due diligence process as well.
Super, that's great to hear. So we have our first question from Anna Kaktrian. Sorry if I've mispronounced it. I'm pretty sure we had a networking call yesterday. So her question to you, Rozalia, is, sorry if I missed, but do you only invest into the Polish market or internationally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we as fund of funds, we invest in venture capital funds. 20 of them are Polish ones. 8 of them are international, which means that they can invest outside Poland, but they are obliged to invest the certain percentage of their investment budget here in Poland, or at least in companies which are internationally, but they run some kind of business activity here in Poland. So I would say that majority of our sources will be spent in Polish type companies.
Okay, got it. And what would qualify, if I'm an international startup, say from Israel, how many steps would I need to take to establish a place of business in Poland?
Mm-hmm. So firstly, branch set up in Poland. So the first step would be to be headquartered at least in the EU. And the second step would be to open a branch in Poland and to have the strategy to develop this branch in Poland. So some substantial part of the development strategy of such a company, even if it's headquartered internationally, shall be connected with Poland.
Got it. So typically, I mean, if I want to take advantage of the raw talent from developers in Poland, and I'm an Israeli startup, I could create a R&D branch here in Poland.
Yeah,
Super.
yeah. That's the great example.
Business angel networks co-invest with your fund of funds. What are the next steps after this event to make it happen?
Okay, so I would suggest, from PFR Ventures, we invested in I think 8 business angels fund VC funds, which means the funds are run by independent GP, but for each deal they need to co-invest with business angels. So after this event, I can organize some kind of networking between these funds, these co-investment funds, which need to find business angels and put you in touch.
On that note, sorry to small brag, we'll be able to help you with that, Rozalia, via the platform. So that's part of our long-term plans. Okay, next question from Brett Harty. Okay, it sounds like COVID-19 has not impacted monetarily the allocated funds or immediate investments. How do you think that this will impact the VC market 9 months from now, 1 year from now?
Okay, so basically, the investment budget of our VC funds needs to be spent till the end of 2023. So we have, I would say, we do not have 9 months or 1 year, but we have 3 years to verify it. And it shall not impact the announced VC funds. totally agree. It may impact VC funds which run in a co-investment model, so which need to find either business angels or corporates or another private investors to complete the investment in a particular startup. So we will take a close look at these funds and we will analyze how they are dealing with the situation.
Got it. And just came to my mind, are you going to stipulate now that your co-investors have to allocate a certain amount of the money to new ventures as opposed to supporting their portfolio companies?
So as I said, so the announced VC funds, they have committed capital, which means that private investors who are committed, they need to pay this capital. Otherwise, there are some restrictions in the investment agreement, and it doesn't pay off for them to not to meet this obligation.
That's great to hear.
In case of co-investment funds, we will have a close look at this in the next coming 2 months, because 2 of our co-investment funds are working to complete these co-investments.
Super, that's great to hear. Okay, anybody from the audience? We've got 5 minutes left. Any last questions to come in? Okay, one more again from Miguel Martin. Any preferences or limitations regarding startup development phase, sector-specific previous investments, or any other criteria?
So apart from this preference regarding some of business activity run in Poland, we do not have actually any sector-specific preferences. PFR Ventures has divided the money to be invested in startup in 5 platforms. Each of them is to serve different stage of venture capital segment, and I think we cover the whole segment, because we have programs which have the aim to invest in pre-seed and seed stage, and we have funds with the aim to invest in expansion and growth stage. So I think that we cover the sector broadly. So there are no limitations on our preferences here.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so 3 minutes until the end of this presentation. Is there any last questions from our audience for Rozalia today? You know, the general partners from abroad, such as Finch Capital and Sunfish, is there any sector that is getting more interest from abroad, such as deep tech, fintech? You know, what's your impression from PFR?
Yeah, in case of Finch Capital, it's obviously fintech. So they are focusing on this sector. I would say in general that usually international VC funds, they seem to more specialize in sectors, and they tend to choose specific sectors. That's right.
Great. Okay, so we have our last question for the session from Robert Strods. Firstly, he'd like to say thank you, Rozalia, for devoting your time to this. Are there any requirements of opening and developing a Polish branch, or is it only true for PFR funds also to apply to the funds receiving the financing from Bridge Alpha?
Okay, I'm not responsible for Bridge Alpha, but as I know the program, I think that this is the same requirement. So at least some kind of important from business perspective, operations shall be run in Poland. I think that in case of Bridge Alpha, it sticks to R&D. R&D shall be in Poland to receive financing from Bridge Alpha. Wonderful.
Okay, well, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank everybody thank you, Rozalia, on behalf of the audience. Very insightful conversation, and thanks once again for being here with us.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, everyone. Let's everyone stay safe.